My wife and I just recently got to make a little trip, get a little getaway for our 46th wedding anniversary. And I tell her, I said, I'm like Charlie Brown. I'm in love with a little red-headed girl. But during our trip, we went up to Atlanta and went to a Braves baseball game, just spent time together and had a good time. But as a part of our trip, we went to a little place near Americus, Georgia. And right outside of Americus is a little town called Andersonville. And then right out from Andersonville, there's Fort Sumter, which most people just know it as Andersonville. It was the notorious prisoner of war camp of the Confederacy. And it was a horrible, horrible situation. Kind of built on a hill going down into this little valley where there was a little creek flowing through. But they made a lot of mistakes when they built this thing. They built it without any airflow at all inside of it. The creek came to the point to where it almost came to a standstill. And they had the latrine for the guards up on the high end of it. It all flowed through the creek. It became a place full of disease and a lot of death. Many, many men died there. And basically, they have just portions of a stockade, just kind of show you how it all was. And, of course, then they got it all drawn out for you, and there's placards all over the place to explain what happened. And my heart became very, very sad because of the realize that many people died there. But basically, what happened, I believe, was a miracle. Now, when you read the placards of the place, there's no mention of God or anything of that nature. But basically, in the midst of that deplorable situation, a spring just sprang up in the midst of that stockade. If you go there now, there's they built a little concrete, nice little structure around it where the water is still flowing and that little spring is still going after all these years. But this is what came to me as I read all of the placards, and then they got a nice little museum there as you walk through, and it explains a lot of things. And it says, well, some of the soldiers said maybe they remember there was a bolt of lightning or something. But this is what I've concluded, and I believe this, that somewhere in the midst of those soldiers, there was somebody with faith. And I just can't help but to believe that there was somebody who was calling out to God. Because see, this is a God-like thing that happened here. For water just to spring up out of the earth in the midst of that tragedy, in the midst of all of that death and despair, and cause water to go down that little creek and just clean that thing out and take so much of the disease with them. This is just what God does. So I'm going to credit God for this tremendous miracle that took place in this place. You see, that's what God does. That's the God that I serve. This is the God that I preach. This is the God that I'm declaring here on the radio or on this podcast to you, my friend. If you are a believer and you believe that God is, then He's all that you need Him to be in your time of need. As Jesus said to His disciples, where is your faith? This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.